I'd like to welcome Senior Midshipman, Mr. Kenneth Barnes with the U.S. Naval Academy to the Fayetteville Kiwanis Club.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me today. When I first found out that I would be able to come home a few extra days for Thanksgiving, I was kind of excited. They said all I had to do was talk to some high schoolers or some junior high schoolers or other organizations throughout the community for the few extra days I get to come home for leave. So they didn't really have to twist my arm too hard because I knew I'd be 3 extra days at home with mom's cooking and mom in bed. So that's why I'm here today. And I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about the Naval Academy. And I think the best way to kind of explain the Naval Academy is to just run through my experiences over the past 4 years and just kind of tell it to you that way. So I first found out about the Naval Academy in the 9th grade, and I started looking into it. I knew that I didn't know much about it. I knew that if you went to school there, you could get your college paid for as long as you agreed to serve a few years in the military afterwards. And then I was like, wow, that sounds awesome. And for big decisions in my life, my family's always kind of told me to get out a piece of paper and a pen and write down the pros and cons. And so I put those in the pros column, like free education. And then I found out the commitment was for 5 years, at least 5 years in the Navy or the Marine Corps afterwards. And so I also put that under the pro column because that's 5 years of employment for sure after graduation. So that's a big thing in today's world. And so then I started looking into it, and I was like, okay, well, what is the Naval Academy? Where is it? What kind of place is this? And so I guess your history lesson for today, other than Admiral Kelso. It was founded in 1845. It's located in Annapolis, Maryland. The people who go there are referred to as midshipmen. They're from all 50 states of the United States and U.S. territories, and a few foreign countries. So that's probably one of the coolest things now that I've been at the Naval Academy that I like about our school is that people are from literally everywhere, all 50 states. I've got 5 roommates right now. One's from Nashville, Tennessee, so that's not too far away. I've got one roommate from Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, New Mexico, and then my last roommate is from Lithuania in Europe. So you really do get a group of people from literally all across America and really all across the world. And everyone brings their background and their culture kind of to the table. So whenever we kind of attack problems, everyone has a different perspective that maybe you haven't really thought of. So that's kind of cool. And actually, my roommate from Lithuania is going to be coming home with me for Christmas, so we'll have to show him a good time in Tennessee. So that's what I started to find out about the Naval Academy, and I started looking more into it. And I looked up a list of distinguished graduates, and those include they've had 8 ambassadors to foreign countries, 5 midshipmen have gone on to become state governors. We also graduated 73 Medal of Honor awardees, 52 astronauts, which is more than any other institution in our country. And that's mainly because they get their pilot's license, and then NASA, they see that they've already had the training, they already have their pilot's license, and that's kind of an easier transition than other institutions. But 52 astronauts is up there. We've also graduated 27 of the 29 Chief of Naval Operations, and actually one of those are in our attendance today. So Admiral Kelso is one of our distinguished graduates. Have to give him a shout out because that's just phenomenal. People really don't understand how what an awesome thing he's done for our country, and he's a native of Lincoln County. So that's when I tell my friends he spoke at the Naval Academy, and I remember telling my roommates, "Oh, he's from Lincoln County," and they're like, "No way." I told them that you can drive through Petersburg and only hit one stop sign, and they just think that's just incredible. But yes, Admiral Kelso is from Lincoln County, and it's kind of like our hidden treasure because he's done a lot of things in his lifetime that are just amazing. So we've also had 2 Nobel Prize awardees, and even one president of the United States has graduated from the Naval Academy, President Jimmy Carter. And so I started looking at these people and all of the things that they've accomplished in their lives, and they've all started at the United States Naval Academy. And so it kind of hook, line, and sinker. That's what I wanted to do in my life. So I started kind of setting myself up for the application process in high school. Picked up tennis because I didn't play any sports at the time. And then I got my nomination. I got accepted to the Naval Academy. And then I found myself in front of Alumni Hall in Annapolis, Maryland, on the last day of June in 2007 for induction day, which is the first day of your midshipman career. And within a couple of hours, like I had my head shaved, all my clothes were gone, I had a uniform, and I think the only thing I had left with me was my toothbrush from home. And I remember thinking, throughout my time in the academy, I've had several moments where I just kind of stop and think, how did I end up here? And how exactly did I get myself into this situation? And that was my first of those many moments when I looked at my toothbrush and I was like, oh, well, this is the only thing I have left. But that first summer went by pretty quickly. We did a lot of fun things that first summer. We shot rifles and pistols, got qualified in that. We did a lot of endurance courses, obstacle courses. There's a lot of yelling, but you learn pretty quickly what you're not supposed to do whenever people are yelling at you to do that. And you definitely really get to know the other people that you're working with because it's all about some teamwork. And I guess my next moment that I had over plebe summer was, that first summer, was whenever we had to get qualified to sail. And sailing is obviously not a big sport around this area because we're not in the ocean. And so part of getting qualified to sail is you had to sail your one-man sailboat out into the bay and show that you could capsize it, turn it back over, and sail back into the docks. And I was like, okay, that's not, I don't really know why you want to flip over a perfectly good boat, but I'll give it a shot. So I got out there. Turning it over was the easy part. Got that down pretty quickly. And then I just couldn't get it turned back over. And so I was kind of treading water thinking, how did I get myself into this situation? And there was really only one thing to do, just turn the boat back over and finally get back into the docks. So I finally did that, and I got back, and I was all proud of myself, and no one else seemed to care. But it's things like that over plebe summer. It's just kind of like there's challenges that you're confronted with, but there's really nothing else to do other than just kind of get it done. So that first summer ended pretty quickly, and then we transitioned into the academic year, which posed challenges of its own. The academics of the Naval Academy are pretty tough, but the teachers and the faculty there are just amazing. They're more than willing to help you out. The classroom sizes are about 20 to 25 students per teacher, which I guess I have a twin sister, Katie, who goes to MTSU, and she said that she's been in classrooms with over 100 people for one professor, and I can't even relate to that because I've always been in those small classroom settings, which is really cool because you can engage the teachers with whatever subject you're studying. So academics at the Naval Academy, everyone graduates with a Bachelor's of Science degree, and then you can pick a major in one of three divisions. You have the Engineering Weapons Division, the Math and Science Division, and the Humanities and Social Sciences Division. So everyone graduates with a major and a Bachelor's of Science degree. And so we take normal classes like physics and calculus and history courses, just like any other university. We also have courses because the mission of the Naval Academy is to develop us morally, mentally, and physically. And so over that first summer, we got a lot of physical development where they were trying to get us all at the same level. And then when we hit the academic year, they wanted to develop us mentally, and that came with the academic courses. So we took the physics and calculus, like I said, courses. Then we also had leadership and ethics and law courses, and that was to kind of help us develop morally. And then we had our professional courses like seamanship and navigation. And then finally, the last type of courses are our PE courses. And the mandatory courses that we have to take for PE include things like boxing and wrestling and swimming and martial arts. And every midshipman has to take these. And I guess another story, one of my moments, was I finished my second martial arts course last year. And in martial arts 1, you did a lot of hands-on one-on-one things. And then you would learn how to fight live one-on-one, and then 2-on-1, and then 2-on-2 even, so that you could be fighting with someone else as like a team with a common goal to defeat the other team. And so that was cool. And then at the very end of martial arts, of the second martial arts semester, you would even fight 3-on-1, which I thought was pretty funny because the first day we fought 3-on-1, I was on a 3-man team. And I remember thinking, oh, this is easy, I can do this any day of the week. But the next week we came back, I was on the 1-man team, and it was a little bit different that day. And I remember thinking, right before they said, all right, go, I had one of my moments again, like, oh man, how did I end up here? How did I get myself in this situation? But the point of that is to put you in situations where the outcome is most likely not going to be in your favor, kind of put you under pressure to see how you react, and that's what they graded us on. But that was another one of my moments, I guess, in PE. And so I guess that kind of explains the Naval Academy classroom and the type of classes that we take at the Naval Academy. And I guess I've already talked to you guys about one cool thing is the type of people that come there, but I think the next coolest thing, if not tied to that one, is the opportunities that we get for over summer training. And so after that first summer's over, we get the chance to kind of go out into the fleet or the Marine Corps and interact with what we'll maybe be doing after graduation. So that next summer, I got to go down to Norfolk, Virginia, and I got to shadow an enlisted sailor for a couple of weeks, and I really got to see what the Navy was all about, kind of thing. That next summer, I was interested in flying at the time, so I signed up for a program called Soaring, and what that entails is you have a tow plane connected to a sailplane with just a wire, and it pulls you up to a certain altitude, and then you release, and then you and the pilot are in the aircraft, and it doesn't have an engine, which didn't really strike me until I was up there, that I was flying in an aircraft without an engine and without a parachute, and so that was kind of, I guess, one of my other moments where there was nothing else to do. And the point of that training is that whenever you don't have that motor kind of giving you that thrust forward, whenever you move the instruments inside the aircraft, you can really see how it affects the aircraft itself whenever you're flying. So the idea is that if you can master that type of flying, then whenever you put into an aircraft with a motor, that should be easy water. So that was that training, and then also that summer we got to go out to the West Coast for 4 weeks, and we got to spend a week with each community that we can be commissioned into after or upon graduation. On the Navy side of the house, you can choose one of 3 major services. You can choose aviation, so naval pilot. You can choose surface warfare, and you can choose submarines. And so we got to spend a week with aviation. This time when we went up in planes, they all had engines, so I was kind of happy. The second week we got to tour the surface warfare community, and that's probably what you think of mostly whenever you think of the Navy. That's your aircraft carriers, your cruisers, destroyers. So we got to see that part of the Navy. We also got to tour the USNS Mercy, which is a hospital ship, and that was kind of cool to see that type of mission that the Navy has. And that's just, it kind of interested me because I have a cousin who's a nurse, and so it really is a hospital on a ship, and they send that out for disaster relief and humanitarian issues. And so that was really cool to see that that's a different side of the Navy that a lot of people don't really know about. So that was pretty neat. The next week we got to spend with the submarine community, and so we had 2 days and a night down hundreds of feet below the water on a submarine, and that was awesome because we really got to pick the brains of the crew and see how they interacted and what their missions entailed. And their mission is really cool. They collect intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance information throughout the world, and that's what the rest of the military can kind of base their decisions on. And they work pretty closely with some of their missions work closely with SEALs. And although I don't want to be a SEAL, it would be really cool to work with people like that. They've got submarines are capable of deploying a SEAL team in almost like a mini submarine, and they can go out, complete their mission, and then they're able to retract them back into the submarine. So that's really cool. And the crew is kind of able to show us how that actually worked, which was pretty neat. And then that 4th week we were on the West Coast. We got to spend with the Marines. And I don't want to be a Marine, but that was still an interesting experience because we got to throw grenades and kind of shoot their weapon systems. We did a lot of rappelling. We learned how to clear buildings. We had paintball guns that we used to clear buildings and have firefights with. And I guess the point of that whole 4 weeks of training on the West Coast was to kind of give us a little background exposure to all the communities, so that whenever we get commissioned into one of them after graduation, we kind of have at least some kind of idea about what we're getting into. And then this last summer was probably the coolest summer I've had yet. I was able to go to Hawaii for 2 weeks. The first week I was on a submarine, and we really got to pick their brains again, the crew, and see how that whole community kind of operates. And the second week, whenever we got done with our training for the day, they kind of let us go. So we were able to kind of go surfing and kind of explore Hawaii, which was awesome. And then the second training that I had for this last summer was a trip to Poland, and it was to study the Holocaust. And that was the most intense trip I've ever been on in my life because just because of the subject matter. I think the Holocaust has kind of always interested me since our trip to Washington, D.C., I believe in the 5th or 6th grade. and we were touring the whole Capitol, the whole Capitol. But the part that I remember the most in the 5th grade was our tour of the Holocaust Memorial Museum. And whenever this program kind of presented itself to me this last year, I signed up and applied for it and was accepted. And it took us from Washington, D.C. to New York City, where we toured museums and listened to survivors. And then it flew us to Poland, Krakow, Poland, and then Oświęcim, Poland, which is where Auschwitz and Birkenau concentration camps are located. And so, listening to survivors, listening to people who could actually like pull up their sleeve and show you the number that they had when they were admitted into concentration camps, and then being able to walk through the grounds where where this all happened, it definitely left it was definitely a memorable experience. It kind of showed you what can happen in the absence of like a free democratic governing institution, and when evil reigns free and no one stands up to do the right thing. And so I think that was probably one of the biggest takeaways I got from that trip. I was really thankful that the Navy kind of let us experience that and kind of see what can happen when people don't stand up to do the right thing. And so, and another one of the trips I was able to go on was to China. It was spring break of my junior year. I forgot to mention that one. Through the economics department, we were able to go to China and kind of get a glimpse of how their economy ran and operated. And we got to tour the Great Wall of China and a few temples, the Tiananmen Square, a couple of things in China. And I guess that was my last big trip with the Navy. So I definitely want to leave time for questions. So I kind of gave a broad description of what the Naval Academy is, what kind of classes we take, what we do during the academic year, and then also what we do during the summertime. So if anyone has any questions about some of the trips I've been on to Beijing, China, or Honolulu, Hawaii, or Poland and the Holocaust, or life as a midshipman at the Naval Academy, then I guess I'll entertain those at this time, so pick my brain.
You might tell them your major.
My major is quantitative economics. It falls under the math and science division, and it's really just economics with a lot of math involved, so we get to run a lot of regressions and see how certain things affect something else. So right now I'm doing a project on how economic indicators affect the presidential election, so I'm looking at GDP and unemployment and things like that, to see if those things have more of an effect on the outcome of a presidential election than things like popularity or things like that. So I'm looking at economic indicators and how they affect the presidential election. So that's just kind of an example of the things we do with that major. And to mention, females are definitely a big part of the Naval Academy. I've spoken at a couple of schools this week, and I always forget to mention that, and they always ask if females go to the Naval Academy, and the answer is yes, definitely. We have about 20%, I believe, of each class are females, and they're just some of the best performers we have at the Naval Academy. So they don't shave at the junior high school. They said, do they shave the girls' heads off? And I was like, no, definitely not. They get cut off about shoulder length, and then they do pretty much everything else that we do. So there's some awesome females up there doing the exact same stuff. So I don't know if that's going to be a question. But is there any other? Yes, sir.
Yeah. What type of physical shape do you have to maintain now in what you're being a senior year in running and athletics?
That's an excellent question. We have a physical test every semester that involves a 1.5 mile run, some push-ups, some sit-ups, and like a flexibility portion. So that's one test you definitely have to pass every semester at the Naval Academy. And then we also have, it's mandatory to play it or to participate in a sport at the Naval Academy. So you have your varsity athletes playing on the varsity football team, basketball team, and if you're not good enough to play on that level, you have the club and intramural levels. Because I played tennis in high school, but definitely not good enough to play on the college level. So I play intramurals at the Naval Academy. So I played lacrosse, basketball, cross country. I'm on the flag football team for our company right now. But sports are really emphasized as part of our physical mission because there's a lot of things that we believe translate from the athletic fields like teamwork, or, working together, leadership, that they're hoping to translate and affect other parts of our military lives. So the physical aspect of the Naval Academy is definitely one of our 3 major areas of development that they're always kind of pushing for. And we do have that physical test that we pass every semester. So, yes, ma'am.
Do you know what you'll be doing the next 5 years?
Actually, I just found out. Everyone else finds out on December the 1st, which I believe is next Wednesday. So that's kind of like a big day for all of the seniors of the Naval Academy. But for the summer, I'm going to go into the submarine community. And we find out a little bit earlier because they have to, everyone who goes into the submarine community has to go interview with the Admiral in Washington, D.C. And so he gives you the thumbs up or down. And so they have to make a certain number, or they have to get a certain number of midshipmen to go into that community. So that you kind of find out a little bit earlier, because if they don't reach that number, then they're asking for more people to interview for that community. So I'll be doing that. So after graduation, I'll be going out to Charleston for some extra schooling down there. I'm excited about that, I guess. Any other questions? Oh, and I'm just gonna mention really quickly that Lincoln County has put forth a lot of people, or relatively a lot of people lately. We've got 2 people at West Point and 2 people at the Naval Academy right now. So that's just phenomenal, because we're really, Lincoln County's really putting forth a lot of people. I think that's pretty neat. We have Joseph Kidd, who's also at the Naval Academy right now. He's a freshman, and so I stopped by his room the other day and gave him a sun drop. Because they don't sell sun drop in Maryland, so Mom ships me some, and then I think he brought me a sun drop one time too. And it's just an interesting dynamic, because there's definitely a big class distinction at the Naval Academy, and he's the freshman and I'm the senior. And so he knocked on my door one time and he was like, Barnes? And my roommates were like, what do you want? And I was like, oh no, that's Joseph. He's from Lincoln County. He can come on there. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, I think it's really neat that we have 2 people from Lincoln County at the Naval Academy. And we're also putting people in other service academies. I think that's pretty cool. And it says a lot about our community, I feel like, so, and our high school education. What was your question?
I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that having known you as a young man, you mentioned the 9th grade, and to see the man you've become, it's very humbling, and I appreciate your service to our country, and I appreciate the comments that you made about Admiral Kelso and what he is, means to this community. I think you're well on your way to representing the community just as well as he has. It's been a treat.
And I saw your son at City in the 9th grade. I believe right now. Is he in the 9th grade at the City?
2.
2? Okay. Well, I spoke to one. I spoke to junior high earlier this week, and it was really cool because the 9th grade is when I first found out about the Naval Academy. So I'm hoping that even if I just convince one person to kind of, I don't know, spark that interest in one person, it's just, I don't know.
Trying to get him through his government class.
Kenneth, you might mention that Mark and Randy came to see you and brought you 2 cases or 14 cases of sun drop.
I think everyone knows how much I like sun drop, so it's funny every time anyone comes up into that area, Mom's like sending them up with sun drop. And Mr. Kidd brought me some sun drop as well. So, and I hope you guys enjoyed your tour of the Naval Academy. It's pretty cool to get to show it to some fellow Lincoln Countyans. But let's see. Any other questions? Well, I guess turn back over to.
I want to say another thank you to Ken. I really enjoyed that. I know everyone else here did too. Anytime you're back, you're welcome to come speak to us again. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and meeting will be adjourned.